I friggin' ran into Jamin and we had a full deep fin discussion yesterday morning. Naked Vikings, NVS fins. I believe the promo code is podcast to get a discount on your NVS fins from Jamin and the crew.
Jamin is quite the thinker.
Yeah. We had a like I said, we had a deep dive. What turned into two guys walking past each other for an early morning surf ended up in a 10-minute super cool discussion about fins and my boards and his boards and what fins and all that fun stuff. So Naked Vikings fins, I'm a big fan of what they do.
So Jamin, I don't know if you know his background. He was a scientist. I want to say he was in like microbiology or something. And yeah, like fully enjoyed it. His mind is wired that way, but had this opportunity with Leif for Naked Viking fins. And they just kind of realized as they slowly got into it, just doing it as a passion project on the side of their day jobs, they realized how much improvement there could be made in this part of the industry. And so now they're both doing it full time.
Sweet.
Did he tell you he's got a baby on the way?
No, he didn't. He was riding Taylor Knox's fish and we weren't talking babies. So you guys are brothers in babyhood.
Well, yes, we are. That's what we've been texting about more than fins. I think theirs is due this next week.
I've got an idea.
Tell me.
You name your kid Finn. Finn is a great Irish name.
That is actually on the list.
Yeah, with 2 N's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a buddy named Finn. Yeah, it's a cool name, Finn.
I just introduced the idea of Val to Lauren.
Really?
She's not too keen on it.
No, I don't like that one. I mean,
like Val Kilmer.
Oh, Val for the boy.
For a boy, yeah. It's like Val Kilmer. Like, obviously, there's lots of girl Vals, but Val is unique for a boy.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
But Finn, can I get Naked Viking to sponsor our son? Like, if we name him Finn, how much will they pay me?
I mean, you could name him C Drive.
Finn C Drive Scales. Well, yeah, Naked Viking supports the show. So Surf NVS, we also, though, I had a conversation with those guys a couple of weeks ago and I was like, let's drive business to retail because they are placing their fins at retailers. Yeah. I just don't have a list of the retailers. So I guess it'd be premature, but if you live somewhere in San Diego, certainly San Diego retailers have them.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who they are either. I could spit out a bunch of them because I'm a big fan of surf retail.
Our thought was just coming out of COVID, surf retail, can use a little help. And so let's kind of drive NVS sales to surf retail. So if you have a local retailer, that way you can kind of see them before you purchase. But NVS fins, and then of course, athleticgreens.com/surf is fuels us every day. I had mine at 6 o'clock today and I'm feeling wired because of it.
Yes, I have mine every morning with my breakfast, which consists of eggs, bacon, tomato, avocado, and Athletic Greens with a little dropper of the vitamin D in there too to mix it all up. I love my Athletic Greens.
And if you use our promo code, which is athleticgreens.com/surf, you get the vitamin D dropper. It's a year's supply of vitamin D. So they'll ship it to your house every month, the Athletic Greens, and then the vitamin D dropper you have for a year. So thanks for that.
Yeah, Guy. Welcome, everybody. This is the Spit Podcast. Scott Bass, David Lee Scales with you here on this Tuesday morning. We're back on the Tuesday schedule, at least for a week. Who knows what happens next week? It is July 6th. And David, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, Scott. Happy 4th of July. How did you celebrate?
Let's see. 4th of July. What did I do? I may have mowed my lawn.
Wow. Is that a euphemism?
No, that's breaking out the lawnmower and cutting grass.
Are we bringing Manscaped back on the show as a sponsor?
No, we are not.
Hey, you know what I have a question with 4th of July? Did you wear an American flag and catch a wave and use it as a cape?
No, that whole thing is past me now. The whole concept of, I don't know, to me, that's like bringing attention to yourself. It's not really about like that. Does America really need me to be the guy that's like, hey, everyone, happy Independence Day? I mean, everyone's doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for it. I watched the fireworks on TV. I thought it was great. I love that Elton John song, Philadelphia Freedom, like when the fireworks are going off. Even though it's not a song I would personally download onto my, list, my song list, those are, there's some 4th of July themed songs which bring a tear to my eye, and that's one of them.
Dude, of all the 4th of July songs, that one never even dawned on me. And I actually played Spotify 4th of July, playlist this weekend,
Yeah.
and that did not pop up, but you are absolutely right. That song is a banger. That
It is a good
song's
song.
so good.
It is a good song. I sense we have figured out what the closing song for this show will be.
That thing is high energy. It pumps. The problem is he's not American.
So what? That says even more. We got a British guy talking about how great America is.
He's not even an immigrant.
That nothing speaks to the power of Independence Day like a British guy singing about us kicking King George's ass.
Was that? I thought it was written for a tennis team or something.
I'm sure.
For the Philadelphia Flyers or something.
Oh, really? Oh, that might be it. That could be it. I'm going to Google it real quick.
Yeah. I want to say tennis, but I can't think of a tennis team that was from Philadelphia. But he's an interesting dude. Team. I don't know, dude. There's no teams, right? So right. I don't know. Maybe my wires are crossed, but he's an interesting dude in that he really had a fascination with America. And there's an album, the name's escaping me now, but it's the album that Amarina is on in My Father's Gun, where he played the role of an American cowboy. He was fascinated with the Old West for a period of time living in England. And so wrote an album from the perspective of an American cowboy in the 1800s. And that song, My Father's Gun, is about his dad going to fight in the Civil War, so the whole album's from that perspective, and it's a phenomenal album.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Interesting dude.
Yeah.
What did you find?
You were right. You're correct. The song was written by Elton John and Bernie Taupin, of course, Bernie Taupin, his cohort in songwriting, as a favor to Elton John's friend, tennis star Billie Jean King, who was part of the Philadelphia Freedom's professional tennis team. The song features an orchestral arrangement by Gene Page, which includes flutes, horns, and strings. So you absolutely, that's a great trivia question.
Yeah, I have no idea why my brain recorded that. But I do love that song. So back to wearing a flag on the 4th of July to promote how patriotic you are, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've got a rant coming. I can feel it already.
Go, bro. Go.
Number one, so Mark Zuckerberg, this was kind of the image of the weekend. I had people DM me say, do I have to hate America now? I want to like America. This is the epitome of so much that is ugly about America, which is, yes, the flag waving literally in your face to promote one's self. Then number two, isn't it, I grew up where you were supposed to respect the flag, where if it was your job to hoist the flag up the flagpole, the flag could not touch the ground. You had to fold it a certain way. There was all of these rules that came with the flag. How did we get to the point to where, there's a clip, Kai Lenny posted it as well, where he's doing airs on a foil board wearing the flag as a cape. There's clips where he's absolutely falling. They just cut away right before he dips underwater. So you're soaking the flag in the lake water. People are wearing board shorts, which means they're naked, rubbing against the flag, the board short that looks like an American flag, or it has the American flag print on it. It's so disrespectful. To me, this is the epitome of disrespect. And it's the epitome of what you said, which is, look at me disrespect this thing. And yet they're posing it as patriotism when it's the last thing that it is.
Yeah. And even further is the concept that, Facebook is running with this icon of liberty and freedom. And of course, we know that Facebook, really what they're doing is the exact opposite of liberty and freedom. They're sort of constricting it, so anyway, but we don't want
to. It's all being controlled by one man, and they're completely subverting all of actual laws that are in place because Congress isn't savvy enough to even know how to regulate it because it's so advanced, or so far
Yeah.
beyond there.
I'm of all the social media platforms, Facebook is the one that I despise the most, and I try not to use it. And sadly, yesterday of all things, I got sucked into the Facebook vortex. I ended up watching video after video on Facebook of like dash cam, encounters with state troopers and how to best avoid getting a speeding ticket. And it was like, after, I don't know, 25 or 30 minutes, I liberated myself from the screen and had to walk out and tell my wife, oh my God, I just got stuck in the Facebook vortex.
Their algorithm is diabolical. And I've wanted, or I've been encouraged to get on TikTok for 2 or 3 years now. And even grown men, 50-year-old men who are friends of mine are like, it's actually really fun. And the algorithm is way more sophisticated to where it's actually like you're entertained. I'm more entertained on 2 hours on TikTok than I would be watching a Hollywood, film. And that's why I haven't done it yet, is because I don't need another vortex to get sucked into that seemingly plays on all my emotions better than I even know how to control,
Yeah, our time is limited. And I'm just kind of focused on Instagram and Twitter,
which, by
but
the
of
way,
course
is
Instagram's owned by Facebook. I know.
So let me ask you this. You run a business, multiple businesses. Do you advertise those things on Facebook?
I do. It's a powerful platform. There's a lot of the people that I want to touch on Facebook. I have 3 different brands that trying to manage. And Facebook is, it's mostly Instagram, but as you mentioned, you end up in Facebook's sphere of influence in their space. So yes, I do.
It's really a conundrum, isn't it?
It kind of is, but it's also a really powerful way to reach people.
Yeah, but it's hard to be so vehemently anti and then be sucking off the teat at the same and need the teat, like to survive on. Because I remember I was using it up until, well, Facebook specific, even though I still use Instagram, I was using Facebook specifically up until maybe 3 years ago, where I realized it was serving me where I could post links to our podcast or whatever, and it would access our audience. And they kept encouraging me to buy advertising, and I just kept putting it off. And then I realized I'd be posting and it wasn't reaching our audience. And so they forced me into this funnel where I have to pay in order to reach our audience. And then I was kind of like, and then all this stuff about their business model that you were just kind of alluding to came out. And so I just kind of took a stance where I'm like, no, I'm not going to play that game. And so I've but probably to my own peril, you know what I mean? Like we probably don't have as many listeners because I'm not advertising our podcast on Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, you could sort of, you could consider just doing it once, or, you know what I mean? Like limiting the amount.
And then they'll just suck you in deeper though. They'll push you down the funnel even farther.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point, and this
like
is
fossil fuels.
Exactly. Or I've heard about businesses on Amazon being forced into a similar funnel where they're just pinched so tight now that they're making zero profits. And Amazon has stolen all of their IP to make the exact same product that they sell as Amazon Basics for half the price and giving free delivery. And they're charging that person who's making no profit warehouse fee, to store the product in the warehouse. And so that was Amazon's plan all along. But the business owner is like, gosh, I've been put out of business by using Amazon because 3 years ago, I thought this would really help me amplify my business. So,
yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, I do believe that antitrust laws were written for this reason, and we need some authority to step in and break up some of these monopolies. It's only good for the marketplace to have equitable and fair competition. It's good for you and me, the consumers. And certainly they broke up the railroads because of this. And this is more or less, our version of the railroads. We've got, there can't just be 2 sets of tracks and only 2 people that get to use the tracks. Everybody should be able to use the tracks. Granted, yes, they have built the tracks, but it's now, and they've reaped the benefits from it, and it's time now for others to use the tracks.
The legislators are so far behind in even understanding the way that the business model operates. When you watch them at those hearings, it's so silly. Like the lawmakers have no clue what's going on.
They're like, how do I turn the phone on?
Exactly. And then billionaires need to pay their taxes too, Scott. Jeez.
Oh my God,
That's a whole different topic.
4th of July rant. Talk about boring surf listeners.
Seriously though, that Mark Zuckerberg thing I honestly felt like we were living in a simulation. When I opened my phone and I saw that, and I'm like, how has he infiltrated? There was a long period of time where surfing was just adjacent to everything else. I could enjoy our surf life and it was a reprieve, and it didn't have to connect with politics and business in the outside world. But Mark Zuckerberg riding a foil, thankfully he didn't have thankfully he didn't have whiteface on this time, but like when riding the foil with the flag, and it was like a convergence of all of my worlds. And I was like, all right, I need to throw my phone in an incinerator and just move off the grid, because this has gotten out of control.
I had a thought. Zuckerberg in many ways sort of represents the VAL, the vulnerable adult learner.
Yes.
And another acronym that my friends have come up with is Athletic New Surfer, the ANS, the Athletic New Surfer, because they're athletic enough to get in the way, and they're 20 years old, they're 28, they're really good basketball players, and they decided to pick up. So anyway, maybe the new name for these types, instead of VAL or ANS, is Zucker. Don't be a Zucker. That guy's a Zucker.
Such a Zucker, dude.
What a Zucker. Dude, you are such a Zucker.
Man, he just got zuckered by that guy.
It rhymes with a few other words.
Yeah, it is.
But doesn't Zucker?
He's a Mother Zucker.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good, dude.
Zucker is a Zucker. So I need you to get Chaz on that.
Okay, we'll print some shirts.
You guys need to talk about that on the grid, since you guys created Val, which is perfect.
The guy got so zucked, it was crazy.
I got zucked this morning surfing. There was a Zucker. There was like 3 Zuckers out there. And the wave storms were like battling with each other back and forth.
Dude, guy full on back paddled me, ate it, and then started yelling at me like I got in his way. The guy was such a zuck. It was crazy.
Complete Zuckerberg.
You know who's not a zuck?
Who?
Sauce Bottle on Instagram, aka Gordon Kilby. He won the Channel Islands Too Happy on July 1st.
That guy Zuckered me so hard. I wanted to win that one.
He did. But yeah, I guess Gordon, I mentioned who the winner was, Gordon, and people are like, oh, good for him. And then once I mentioned it was Sauce Bottle, everybody's like, no way, Sauce Bottle won? Apparently Sauce Bottle's a bit of a folk hero, either on Instagram or in Australia. I'm not sure where he gets his powers from, but congratulations to Sauce Bottle. One of the many benefits of supporting our work here. Keeps us in business, but also you can win surfboards. And by the way, Scott, I've got a new one being shaped that you will not believe. It is the hottest commodity on the surfboard market right now. For our listeners, potentially, it'll come up later in the show.
Is it the album?
No.
Because I want one of those Coco albums that Matt Parker makes.
Me too, the Plasmic.
That thing looks sick.
This thing is even more sought after, but we'll get to it in a little bit.
Oh, God.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you watch Russell Bierke's Vantage Points after I told you about it?
You know what?
Okay.
I apologize. I wanted to. I need to. Please, Russell, and please, David. I promise you, I will watch that. I want to watch that.
It's 5 minutes, so it's not a huge commitment, but you're only hurting yourself.
However, I'll interrupt your thought here. I did watch Lost Atlantic, and my God, what is it?
Lost Track, and they did Lost Track News. They did Lost Track New Zealand a couple of years ago. This is Lost Track Atlantic.
Oh, well, I butchered it on Instagram then, but anyway, Lost Track Atlantic
episode 2.
And I'm so close to booking a flight to Morocco. There's so many good waves there. Like, you'd be blown away how
I know
every 4 kilometers there's another killer right-hander. And yeah, I was
how gnarly is,
and I've been there before, so I know. I know it's good.
So not only is it good, it's actually treacherous. And we know obviously the Billy Kemper story, but those at like the 10-minute mark, where it's those double overhead, wide, gaping, thick. Yeah. And Torin surfs it effortlessly. The way that he makes it look playful is a real attribute to his skill and talent. And it's also not easy to pace on those waves. And he's just like, he's got the pacing so dialed.
I think too, and you're right, the surfer always trumps the board, but the boards that he's riding give him the ability to kind of play with the power zone of the wave, to play with the pocket, and know that if he needs to, he can step on it and get out of trouble. And I think the boards deserve some credit there too. Are those Simon Jones's?
They are. And I have that board that he's riding in that section. That's the board that I have from Simon Jones. And honestly, it's been the biggest game changer for me. And I got it in 2019. I rode it for at least a year straight, maybe more than that. And I rode it in head high surf, in 1 foot surf. And it's still in great condition because it's triple stringered, tons of glass. It's heavy. It doesn't have any dings on it yet. No pressure dings in the deck, 610.
And what's the rail like? Is there a performance tucked edge?
Yes.
Or does it soften up in the middle of the board?
It softens up in the middle, but it's still pretty tucked. It's not
still
fully
notice
soft.
it. Okay.
Yeah, all the way to the nose.
I'd like to ride that.
Well,
I mean, I have one kind of, which I love. The one.
No, you don't though. That's the thing is I know Ryan Sakel shaped you one that was kind of based on that, but has Ryan seen one in real life?
I don't know, but I saw this. That's not a Keo brand. That's just Morning of the Earth. Okay, so anyway, no. The answer is I don't know if Ryan's seen one.
So I've had a bunch of shapers in California ask me to see it because they don't really, you don't see them around here, you know. And it. What?
Do you shut them down or do you let them see it?
I'm not telling you. But I've never seen anybody come close, to be honest. And obviously there's a bunch of shapers around the world who've been making mid lengths in the last 2 years, but they don't come close. The board's just very different. And the way that Torin rides it, I don't know that, like I base the way that I surf it off of the way Torin rides it. And it's very informative, like kind of stay back, let all of that swing weight up front kind of stay in front of you. When you have weight in front of you like that, my impulse is to kind of move forward and try to get on it. That's not the way you do it. You stay back. And like you said, you can lean forward if you want to engage. Like when he's pulling into the tube, then of course you lean forward. But otherwise, the back is actually really performance. It gets very narrow. There's channels, there's the big fins. And so you can pivot off of that and drive off of that and actually get a lot of maneuverability off that back portion of the board, but you benefit from all the speed and the weight from the front, certainly for paddling and stuff like that. So you're not going to go vert with it, but I will come off a bottom turn and certainly crack a lip with the back half of the board, you know? So I'm a huge fan of that board. And,
yeah, me too.
And I guess I could spoil it right now, but Simon Jones is who I've got queued up to, make a board for us for the giveaway.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. So I messaged
so does that board get shipped over here?
It's going to have to, yeah. So I messaged.
How do I get one of those boards?
I'll let you ride it. So
that's not good enough.
Well, dude, I don't even want to ask.
What if I fall in love with it?
That's the blessing and the curse of him being as popular as he is. Look, I had him on the podcast 6 months ago or whatever, and I didn't even want to ask him for a board because I know that he's got this giant wait list.
But that's okay. You know what? I'll have Ryan. Ryan's making me great boards. So
but here's the deal with Simon. He told me years ago, he's like, hey, I want to donate a board to the podcast. And I'm like, great, let's do that. And then we just never got to it. Right. And he's just gotten busier and busier. And then he won the electric acid surfboard test for Stephanie Gilmore. Yeah. And Torin's popularity has increased and all that. So I never wanted to hold him to it, but I messaged him to congratulate him on his recent win, which we'll get to.
Yes.
And he's like, man, he's like, I'm so flattered. I didn't see that coming, but hey, I still want to make a board for the podcast. And so let me know what you want and we'll make it next month. So this could all fall apart, by the way. I'm not promising this to listeners, but I messaged him back and I go, hey, I don't want to get greedy, but if you're going to be sending a board over here, I'm going to have a hard time giving that away to somebody. So can you make two? Let's make two of the same. I'll pay for it. I'll keep one for myself and we will then I can discuss it. And yes, Scott can write it. So make one that fits. And those boards are big enough to where it will fit you in terms of volume. So make one, we will write it. We will discuss it on air. We will promote it. And then we will keep it and we'll have one to give away to a listener.
Sweet.
And so he hasn't replied to that email yet.
Oh,
I don't want to get greedy, but that just makes more sense, right?
Yeah. I had a thought too. How many boards do you have?
I try to keep it trim and I have like 12.
Right. And you and I talk a lot about all the boards that I have too, you know, and I was just in my shed looking at the ones that I ride and I've got some cool boards. Anyway, I had this thought where I want to bring all my boards down to the beach and just throw them out on the sand and let people ride them.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not sure when, and so if you and I combined forces, we could have
I've got more than 12. I've got 20 at least.
We could have a meetup where people get to just come down and ride our boards if they want, you know? I was thinking that might be kind of fun.
Not only would I be fully down to do that, I'm down to get rid of some. Yeah. I don't know if you feel that way.
It depends what time of the day you catch me at.
Yeah, I know. So
go ahead.
I have an upright rack that I have like 8 that I just in my head, these are in my rotation right now, but ultimately I only ride 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then a bunch that are buried that I don't even remember what's down there. You know what I mean? Like those should be being ridden. They're just sitting there collecting cobwebs.
Yeah, I pulled one out of the cobwebs this morning and rode it when I hadn't ridden in like, at least 2 years.
What is it?
And it's John Bellick fish, a quad fish by John Bellick. And yeah, I mean, I got boards like that, that I can just pull out and go, oh my God. So anyway.
My only hesitation with giving them away is 5 years, 8 years down the road, I'll get onto a new thing. Maybe it's a quad phase or whatever. And I go, man, I used to have a quad that I loved. Why did I get rid of that thing? And so even though I'm not into the ones that are collecting cobwebs now, I might cycle back into it and wish that I had that old fish or whatever that I once loved, to revisit.
Speaking of fish, I'm supposed to go to Dark Arts and pick up a fish from them to ride.
Oh yeah.
Pretty excited about that. But okay, so back to this thought. When could we have a meetup where maybe we just invite the subscribers, or I don't know, that's not fair. We should
maybe August.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking like a Friday morning in August, like a Friday morning or something.
Okay.
Sometime in August where we just throw the boards out. And I mean, I've got long boards. I got all sorts of stuff.
I mean, it would make sense to do it around the Boardroom show, but the Boardroom show is so busy that it's like, we can't stack one more event on.
No, I can't do that.
Okay. Real quick, just to follow back to Russell Bierke, you were saying he looks like groundskeeper Willie.
Yes.
No, he does not. He looks like Russell Winter.
Oh, wait a minute. Russell Winter? You mean like?
I'm not Russell Winter. Johnny Winter.
Johnny Winter. Yeah. The brothers, Edgar.
Yeah.
Winter.
Yeah. Johnny Winter is who I'm thinking, or who a listener actually pointed out, and it's 100% spot on.
Here's the thing. Johnny Winter and a woman procreated a baby known as groundskeeper Willie.
Is that how groundskeeper Willie?
Yes. There's a full lineage.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting Russell Winter, by the way. I don't know that name I pulled out of the recesses of my brain.
Yeah.
So let's real quick hit the Boardroom show then. Give people the dates.
Yeah.
The events that are happening there.
So September 25th and 26th, the Boardroom Surfboard Show presented by US Blanks. And it's, of course, in Del Mar. We're honoring Pat Rawson. I was just on the phone last week with Fred Hemmings. Fred Hemmings is going to come over and give a great talk on the history of professional surfing from his vantage, which is, he's got some great insights.
Crazy.
And Chris Morrow is going to be doing a series of seminars. And those ones are being, Chris and I are fleshing those out right now, and they're going to be really great. And we've got RevChem Douglas Surf Products doing an exhibit on how it's made, sort of like the way that I think Animal Planet or History Channel does the show called How It's Made. Anyway, they're going to be doing a step-by-step exhibit of board production. And of course, we've got Best in Show. So if you're a surfboard maker and you're listening right now, you don't have to be in the Boardroom show to enter a board for free in Best in Show. So Best in Show is brought to you by Zio Boffa Organic Italian Wines. We've got cash, $1,500 for first prize. In addition, you're going to get a free booth at the show next year. You're going to get a bunch of wine. And we've got prizes for second and third place as well. So get into Best in Show, and you can go to boardroomshow.com right now to see how to enter. It's easy to enter. Just send me an email and you're in. Bring a board and you're in. And it's a chance for you to have a board at the show, be represented. And that's a good thing, I think. I'm trying to get, and we've got quite a few entries already. So Best in Show. And then, of course, the California Gold Surf Auction will be there, and we'll be auctioning off vintage surfboards. And what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something else. A bunch of other stuff.
With the seminars, is there an easy way to record those?
Well, I'm in talks right now, and I have a meeting this week. It looks as if there's going to be a live stream of the seminar. So if you're not able to go to the shows, you'll be able to see a live stream. But I don't want to like be premature like you were earlier, you know, and announce something that's not going to come to fruition. But I'm about 75% sure we're going to be live streaming on Surfline. So you can watch these seminars on Surfline, and actually the entire Boardroom show. So if you're in England or in France or in Hawaii or wherever, Australia, you can see the Boardroom show in all its glory on this live stream. But again, caveat, I'm not sure that's happening. And as soon as it does happen, I'll be all bells and whistles.
Well, I'm just thinking, even if that doesn't happen, we got to figure out a way to record the seminars, because so much, those guys, first of all, are like somebody like Fred Hemmings, right? Like super valuable insights, and a lot of work goes into the seminar. And it would be great to record them and then publish them on the Boardroom podcast feed.
Yeah.
Just because they need to live in in perpetuity for posterity. It's almost a shame to just go out to the live people that are there in the venue and then have it wash away.
Yeah.
Record them.
Yeah. Yes, we will. We're
add it to your list.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We'll do our best.
All right.
So
So
that's
the
the Boardroom
dates.
show. September 25th and 26th. Tickets will be available beginning in August.
On boardroomshow.com.
Yes.
Awesome. Cannot wait. Well, Scott Bass, Jordy is out of the Olympics. Kira is pumping. Electric acid surfboard test ended. What do we got?
Well, regarding the Olympics, the facts are the facts, and the Delta variant is kind of blowing up in Tokyo right now. And the Japanese version of the CDC over there, their governing body that controls, diseases, is saying that the Delta variant is actually going to peak the 2 weeks of the Olympics. And it's just so happens that's just the nature of, I don't want to say serendipity, the opposite of that, where these things are coinciding at the same time. So the daily tally is up 20% from last week. And their government advisor there is calling this very, very worrying, end quote. The Japanese government, the Tokyo metropolitan government, and the local Olympic organizing committee have all insisted that the games are going to go ahead safely if everyone follows the health guidelines. People are already flying in and testing positive for the Delta variant from out, and a majority of the residents in Tokyo are still opposed to the games going ahead due to fears that it could turn into a super spreader event. I don't want to come on here and seem alarmist. I'm looking forward to the Tokyo Olympic Games. I actually watched some of the track and field qualifiers for the USA team. It was really exciting. I really actually enjoy the track and field events. And I'm looking forward, and I hope everything goes well. But the facts are the facts. This Delta variant is highly contagious, and that's just the nature of variants. They adapt, they mutate into stronger forms, and that's what's happening here.
Not only highly contagious, but also more deadly, right?
I mean, I'm not an expert. Probably more deadly.
Well, that's what I've heard, is that the symptoms are much more severe than we were kind of getting accustomed to. But I mean, I guess if I lived in Tokyo, I would lock down myself, like for those couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of weeks before, a couple of weeks after, just plan on going back in time to 2020 and pretending like it's a lockdown.
David, 13% of the population has at least one shot in their arm of the 2-shot doses. And you know what? I'm just glad I'm vaccinated. I'm glad I'm vaccinated, because the good news is, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to worry about the Delta variant. The vaccine works great.
Yeah. I'm surprised only 13%. Did they have a hard time rolling out the vaccine in Japan, or just people weren't hip to it?
No, they don't have the vaccine, and they didn't have the logistics in place to implement a strategy.
Huh. Bummer. Well, imagine a worst case scenario here where there's an outbreak in Olympic Village where the world's greatest athletes, not only contract the disease, but what if they die? These are the healthiest people in the world at the peak of their fitness. If they get taken out by this thing, that'll be a real, a real tragedy, but also just like a real serious wake up call for the rest of the world,
Yeah, it's going to be
that's crazy.
Situation.
It's crazy to even conceive of.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking. I just Googled. Here's an example. A member of the Ugandan Olympic team tested positive for the coronavirus upon arrival in Japan, and he had the Delta variant. That was on Friday, June 25th, so about a week ago. Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah. Anyway.
Good news is, wear your mask. If you're not vaxxed, wear your mask, try not to spread it, and lay low. Yeah.
Okay. Enough of that. I know people are sick of.
But Jordy's out. Jordy's out with his knee surgery. Jordy is, we're going to look back, perhaps the most talented surfer to wink at greatness competitively and then just get shunned. I mean, he's so close to a world title a couple of times, just can't quite close the deal. So close to an Olympic berth. Injury sets him, sidelines him. It's like, God.
It's really a bummer from a 30,000 feet global perspective when you look down on it.
It really is.
And just go, wouldn't it be great for South Africa surfing to have a world champion again?
Yeah.
They kind of need that, like
he's got all the talent in the world.
Oh, he's incredible. He's one of the top 5 surfers in the world competitively.
Without a doubt.
He's amazing. And
you said competitively. I mean, bar none, just like no qualifiers. In terms of talent alone, he's one of the top 5 surfers in the world.
He's one of the guys that if you were free surfing and you saw him surfing, you'd want to watch him surf. There's some people where you're like, I don't really need to watch Bede Durbridge surf. Yeah, he rips. So does everybody else down the beach. But the level of talent is exponential with him relative to the other top CT surfers. He's one of those guys.
Jordy is a guy you would watch free surf almost anywhere in the world and think,
he'd be inspired.
There's nobody else who can beat this guy right now. Like, put John in the lineup, put whoever, and Jordy is right there with them. He is that talented.
And he's a big ocker too. I mean, shoot.
Totally.
He's not like a lightweight. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of us that are in the 175 pound range, because I bet Jordy's at least 180. He's 6'2", isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's lost a lot of weight in the last year. He looks thinner than ever, but yeah, even then I think he's 180. I think he was pushing 200 at times. And I mean, I feel like he hasn't lived up to the Jordy of old in the last 2 years that I've seen him surf. He's getting a little more competitively savvy, but if you can't recall Jordy, if we're saying this and you're thinking, no way, Felipe, Idolo, no, go back and watch Jordy in those Kai Neville films or any of Jordy's films, even Bending Colors. And he is on par with anybody who's ever walked the earth. I mean, it's really mind blowing. Big airs, power, obviously. And yeah, it's just a shame it's a shame to live long enough to see these guys kind of go through their full career,
How old is Jordy?
I don't know. I would guess 34 if I had to make a guess. 32,
Wow.
maybe.
So 3 years from now, because look, let's be real. We wouldn't have picked Jordy to win the Japanese Olympics.
No.
Just because he's so big and the waves are so shitty.
He's 33.
We think they're going to be shitty. 33. So in 4 years, he'll be at Chopu, hopefully for the Team South Africa. But he might be retired from the CT. There might be a South African. But I mean, don't you think he'll odds are he'll be on the South African team when he's 37.
Yeah.
I don't know the space. There might be some really red hot young South African kids coming up. Who knows?
We would have guessed Kelly Slater would be on the American team as well, So, and yeah, there's amazing talent coming out of South Africa, so he could get bumped. But
is it Matthew McConaughey?
McGillivray.
Sorry, yeah.
Matthew McConaughey. No, I think he's busy doing other stuff.
Okay, well, not.
He does surf though. He does. Surf.
Yeah. He's a Zuckerberg kind of.
Guy's full Zuck.
Is he borderline Zuck or is he like one of us?
I think the guy's so cool. I want to invite him into the club, but he hasn't proved his way yet.
Okay.
If he invites me to come surf like around Malibu with him,
where do you set the line for you're either a Zuckerberg or you're a surfer? Is it like when you began surfing, the age at which you began surfing?
I think it's more behavioral. So like Val, you can mandate with, a certain amount of experience, but a Zuck is all behaviorally based. So if you show up in the lineup with white face, you're a Zuck. If you show up in the lineup with an electric foil, you're a Zuck. If you show up with a flag draped around your shoulders, full Zuck. If you have the waterproof earbuds so that you can listen to music while you're surfing, Zuck.
I might be a Zuck. I might qualify as a Zuck. Oh, Lordy.
You might. Bad news, Scott. Big reveal on this show was identifying you as a Zuck.
I think that I think Zuckerberg is just a better way to qualify those guys that we now call Vals. Because it's Zuck. Because you're a Zuckerberg. Dude, you know what I mean? Like, don't be a Zuckerberg.
What if the guy shows up? What if it can also be based on net worth? Wow. So if a dude shows up in the parking lot in a Lambo, you got no place in the lineup here. Like if you have a Lambo, you should also have access to a truck and bring the truck to the beach. You don't want to get sand in the Lambo.
The thing about Zuck is that he didn't read the room. Like really you're going to show up on 4th of July with a flag draped around you, foiling on an electric foil or I don't even know if it was electric, but you know what I mean? Like that doesn't seem like the best move for your brand, your Facebook company, you being like, it just seems a little like loud, obnoxious American. Like you didn't read the room, dude.
He doesn't read the room.
So if you show up with a Lambo, yeah. And so if you show up with a Lambo, you're not reading the room, or in this case, the parking lot.
That's the point.
In some regard, maybe that's a qualification to be a Zuckerberg, a guy who can't read the room.
A guy who has no awareness that a room exists. You know what I mean? Like he'd never been told no, certainly not for the past 20 years. And by the way, Facebook started as a website ranking whether or not chicks were hot or not. That's what it was at Harvard. It was, here's all the girls we go to school with. Here's one, here's another, hot or not, And so that's reading
horrible.
The room. Exactly. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that's who this is.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. Don't be a Zuck. Did you watch the Electric Acid Surfboard Test series finale?
Yes, I did. Of course I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if I have any takeaways other than people should watch it. I was excited. I guess my big takeaway is I feel like the Rusty I feel like the Rusty was the best board,
Yeah.
or at least for Coco. But no, but that's not true. She was
No, the
ripping on the
album was
album.
the best for her.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's weird when you look in the camera and you go, the Rusty is the board that I like the most. I was absolutely ripping on the Rusty, but it's not in my top 3. I'm like, wait a minute, what are we
I know.
doing here? Like
She
and
said
how
she
did
got
that
her
get-
best wave on that board.
how did that get through the editing process? Like, to
Well,
me, it's like, I don't know, it's a kind of a slap in the face.
It's interesting. Somebody, so we can reveal the winners. Coco Ho picked the album Plasmic as her favorite board. Mason Ho picked the Simon Jones board as his favorite board. It was shorter channel bottom twin. Was it a pintail? I forget. Yeah. And somebody messaged me, a number of people actually messaged me and said, Mason wasn't ripping the hardest on that board. And it's kind of what you're saying about Coco, even though I think she was ripping probably, that album looked great under her feet. But the point that I want to make with the Mason thing is ripping the hardest isn't what you're going for at a certain point in your career. And I was viewing Mason surfing under my kind of middle-aged eyes and definitely not ripping the hardest that I'm ever been surfing, and appreciate, and also having a context for Simon Jones's boards. And what I was seeing that Mason was experiencing out of the Simon Jones board made me think that Mason was going to pick that board. And so when people started chiming in and go, but he wasn't ripping the hardest on that, I thought, that's kind of irrelevant. He's not trying to rip the hardest. He knows how to rip and he's done it a million, but what he's getting out of this board is drive that he wasn't getting before, and stability that he wasn't getting before, and speed that he wasn't getting before, and all. And yeah, so the turn is more drawn out, but just look at how much drive he's getting out of that thing. And then he banks off the whitewash with all this power right into a bottom turn. Like, those lines are all not brand new to him, but they're a different degree than he was doing before. And that's what he's tapping into. And so that's what I was connecting with when I was watching it. And then to hear all these listeners chime in and not necessarily have connected with that, and just wondering why he wasn't fanging the fins out when he hit the lip, I was like, wow, it's interesting how we're all experiencing this differently.
Yeah, it's super subjective. I mean, of all, all of the sort of premium content, surfboard focused things that Stab does. I mean, obviously they only do 2 right now, maybe 3 coming up here, but this is the weird one. I found myself saying this too. I found myself saying, like, the boards that they picked for 2nd and 3rd, I found myself going, those weren't the boards that they surfed the best. And then you kind of go, well, are they doing that? Like, what kind of judging criteria paperwork are they receiving from Stab and from Sam and Ashton that says, look, here's what we want you to consider regarding your top 3, like, and so they kind of went, well, and is there something in there, and I don't know this to be the case, but is there something in there that's like, I don't even know what it would say, but it says something like, don't go to the board that you would choose at 5 Foot Rocky Point. Go to the board that, I don't even know what it says, but it seemed like, especially for Coco, I think her 2nd and 3rd choices to me didn't seem like boards that she looked like she was surfing well.
Well, I don't think that there was any meddling in the judging. I think that this was completely like, for you guys have free reign. You let us know what's
Well, wait,
what.
I'm not saying there was meddling. I'm just saying that I know because of the shape off with the shape off, the guys are like, well, what's the judging criteria? And I'm just saying there may have been some judging criteria notes or even verbally communicated regarding how Mason and Coco are supposed to look at this thing.
Maybe. I agree with that. I was surprised by the selections too. And even though I don't think this was mandated, Coco picking the Mayhem as her 3rd favorite, I was like, that thing was bogging. Like, it did not look great. And she has to be just trying to be polite to her, obviously her shaper. And again, I don't think it was mandated, but I do think it was like, God, we can't like talk crap about the guy who makes us boards for our entire life. And so let's give him give him a third place, give him the bronze.
By the way, I ran into Matt this morning and had a long chat with him. He was randomly in the parking lot down here.
No way.
Yeah.
That is random. That's not as normal.
I know, it was random, but he was down here with his kids surfing and stuff. And if I can just divert a little bit, I'll give you some insight into what we talked about.
Please.
Which I find to be interesting. First of all, he said the board that he made for those two was just like a full one-off. He's just like, he just went off the reservation regarding what he would normally do, and he made some boards, and they were a little bit out there.
Which, by the way, I appreciate him doing that.
Too.
Because
me too.
Yeah, first of all, they would be right, and they would be too identifiable to Mason and Coco if they were just a different version of what he's already been giving them. Yeah. And so I agree. I appreciate him putting his neck out there, knowing that it could get chopped, and going for something.
Yeah, totally. And Matt's got enough. He can do that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the takeaways from our conversation was that he's got a bunch of models that he's just been sitting on because of COVID. He's like, there's no need to release models. We're super busy. We're back ordered like every other surf builder in the world right now. And we can't even build the ones that are out there that people are wanting. Why add more to the mix? And so he's got he showed me two of his boards that he's been sitting on for a year and a half that they were going to release in early 2021, spring of 2021, or excuse me, spring of 20. God, it's been a long time. Spring of 20 that they're just sitting on. And I'm sure that, and I'm assuming that a lot of the board builders are like just sitting on a bunch of cool models. He was like, you don't need to do models right now. This thing has like simplified everything. It's like, there's no need to like add little splishy splash and this and that and hyper that. And
well, the other detail is rollout is so difficult to manage when you're an international surfboard brand. So if they do introduce a new model, that means all around the world. And you already have shelf space in those retailers with 10 other models, and the retailer can only hold so many boards. So do you take out the driver or the Uber driver or whatever to make room for this new model? And then a customer who loves the Uber driver is going to come in and be like, where's the Uber drivers? Oh no, we're not, it's just a kind of a nightmare to roll out. And how do you fit those into the production line as well? Not just the retailer, but.
And he brought up another, go ahead.
No.
He brought up another point that is fascinating too, and pretty obvious. And this kind of speaks to Simon Jones, because Simon Jones came out and basically, Tor and Martin, they were basically like, hey, here's this twin fin rounded pin, and you and I have been riding them for a couple of years now, ever since Simon basically, I don't want to say that board's been around forever. I mean, Gary McNabb was making those in 1982, but they kind of reintroduced this design to the marketplace. And Matt was like, you know what, we don't have to market those anymore. Like, he was basically saying Channel Islands, the Devon board that Channel Islands came out with, that mid-length, they did all the marketing for Matt. Matt's like, I'm building tons of these things. That's all I'm building is like these mid-length Devon Howard, I don't know what the phrase is for that design other than mid-length. And this idea that you can let other companies do the marketing for you. Like, how many times for instance, I went to Ryan Sakel, I'm like, make me one of those Simon Jones boards,
Totally.
And I'm sure that Matt Parker at Album's getting hounded to have them build those plasmic model, I want to call Matt. I'm sure he's just too busy to build them. So I'm going to go to somebody else and make me something like the plasmic, you know what I mean? Like, other companies doing the marketing for you in this time of COVID, because it's hard to manage models, as you mentioned.
I agree. That's a fascinating concept that I hadn't thought of before. I've got a question for you. define a fish? Because I feel like every board they rode there, they're like, oh, this fish, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at it going, that's not a fish. You know, like we need to be a little more specific. It's an alternative shortboard and it's kind of got fish elements in it, but I don't think we can just call everything
Yeah,
with 2 fins under 6 foot a fish.
that's a good question. And I'm not the end all be all on this. This is a question that I would refer to Skip Fry or to Steve Liss or to Bird Huffman or to Rich Pavel or any number of San Diego guys, right? Even like, who's the guy that would be a good guy to, Steve, old time San Diego guy. Anyway, I can't remember.
Steve Liss.
No, another guy named Steve. Anyway, and I've asked this question before, and some have told me that the inches between the tips on the twin fin, right? 17 inches. If it's narrower than 17 inches, it's not a fish, it's a twin fin. 17 inches between that's pretty wide.
Yeah.
17 inches. But I don't know, that's obviously not an industry standard or anything. It's all based on, it's all marketing.
Yeah. I guess I think of it more as the way
Steve Siebold is who I was thinking of.
Good.
Sorry.
I like the way that came to you though. The way your brain works, it's just a little bit slow, but I mean, sometimes it's in the middle of the night that I remember stuff, like in the morning, I'm like, God, what was that? And then 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, there it is. The way that I think of a fish is more in how it performs. And it's down the line speed through flat, mushy sections, and it's never going to go vert. And so of course, then working backwards, design wise, what you get out of that is like a thick, short, wide board. And yeah, 2 fins are part of it. And keels are probably mandatory for a fish.
I don't know about that. You lost me on
Really?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Only because,
wide base.
Stevie doesn't ride keels.
Oh, he doesn't?
No. I mean, he'll make you one with keels, and there are plenty of Lisses out there with keels, but his personal boards, at least last time he made me a board, they were, all the Lisses I've had have been like MR wide, normal upright fins.
Does he do glass-ons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marine fly.
Yeah. So those are the elements that I think of as a fish. If the board is designed to do that, that's a fish. But when you're doing airs on them, that's no longer a fish, And in order to do airs on it, there has to be different rail, thinner, all these other things. And then to me, that's just no longer a fish.
Yeah. You're getting
something
into
different.
Tweener zone. It's a tweener.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would like, in closing with the electric acid surfboard test, I would like to say that this is Stab's best effort yet. They are going from strength to strength, not just with the electric acid surfboard test, but each new thing that they put out. Anti-irons and the radicals was the last that I could think of, was better than whatever they had done before. This is better than that. I think that their crew right now is really strong. Creatively, they're coming up with things that are like reading the room perfectly, like kind of touching on exactly what we as viewers want to see. And then execution wise, they're nailing it. They're highly entertaining. They're highly informative. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of the premium subscription. Even if I don't read any of the premium stuff, even if it's just these tentpole video pieces that they do quarterly, it's well worth it.
So the next one, right? What is it? 100 surfers or something? What is
Surf 100?
Surf 100. They've got Mikey February. So Mikey February would be a guy that I'd like to see be the key surfer in the next. I know we got Kelly Slater lined up for the next electric acid surfboard test, but I think Mikey February might fit the bill really well.
I'm not against it. I just don't know anything about him in terms of how communicative is he? How savvy is he talking about board design?
Yeah, those are questions.
I saw somebody messaged us recommending the Gudauskas brothers.
Maybe, I don't see why not. Three people seems like a lot. Two, first of all, let's get into is two too many?
I didn't think so.
You didn't
I
think
liked
so?
it.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Three too
actually
many?
three could be. I mean, I thought two was added value. Like I really learned more about each of the designs, hearing people communicate their differences that they were experiencing on those designs. And I think three would be too many. Well, three, they did the All Stars Stab in the Dark thing with Jordy, Mick, and Dane. So
Yeah.
three might be too many but the Godowskis brothers are a clan and they work well together, just like Mason and Coco worked well together. Or, I mean, I guess we argued against that at times, but I feel like the Godowskis could work well as a threesome.
Well, the hose worked great in the water. Where the problems for me was that Mason would step on Coco Ho every time she was speaking. Not every time, but often.
Yeah.
When they were together, for sure.
And regress the conversation,
Right,
it's like he would step on her to like try to be very Mason and funny. And it was like, well, she never got her point across. We want the point,
Yeah. Harrison Roach was sent to me and probably to you. Machado makes a ton of sense. Rasta.
Oh gosh, I didn't even think about that. That's a great call. That is Machado's a great call.
Yeah. Really good call, because to talk about a guy who absolutely sort of bridges the performance surfboard and the alternative performance surfboard. He, on a bunch of different levels, as a shaper, as a designer, as a surfer. We've got a pipe master who right now, as we speak, is probably riding an Alaya,
Yeah.
So Rob might be the only concern with Rob is that he's a little bit controlled in what he's going to say. You want somebody to be really not outspoken, but sincere and honest, and not concerned about some backlash that you might get.
I want critical is what I want.
That's what, we want critical. Is Kelly going to be critical?
I would think so. Yeah. I would think so. Let's touch on Surf 100. Did you watch the previous two Surf 100s?
No.
Are you familiar with the concept?
Not really. No. Fill me in. So
in COVID, and there wasn't any WSL content, Stab conceived of running their own version of a contest. And they wanted, so part of the problem with a surf contest is it becomes so controlled. You create all of this criteria that it's now almost nothing like surfing. The experience that the two competitors have in the water, it's a very different experience than actually just free surfing. So I think Stab's idea was, let's create very few parameters and just kind of have a free surf and decide who's the best surfer in a free surf. And the first one was semi-successful in that effort. It was at lowers, and it was Griffin Colapinto, Ian Crane, and Chloe Andino. And I believe Chloe Andino won that. And it was a 100-minute exhibition. So these guys are already surfing lowers every day in the summer anyways, and they're already filming. And we're not going to cordon off the area. So you guys go out there and you fight for waves like you normally do. We'll just film it. And then we'll have a team of judges. I forget, they had commentators and judges. So I think the commentators were Taylor Knox, Dane Reynolds, and Salema Masakela. And then the judges, I forget who the judges were, but they then packaged that in its full 100 minutes. So without any cutting down, but they edited it, over to the commentators and stuff like that. And they replayed waves. They packaged it into a 100-minute thing that they put on stabmag.com for all of us viewers to view in on a Thursday night at 7:00 and watch it in real time and assess. And I think they implemented some sort of a judging thing for the viewers as well to participate in. Ultimately, Chloe Andino won that event. It was very well done, I thought, and actually better than the WSL's content in a lot of ways. But the improvement that they made on the second version of it was they put it in great surf. So they did part 2 at North Point, and it was during a pumping swell with Jay Davies, Jack Robinson, and Jacob Wilcox. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Jack Robinson won that event. And so this is the third iteration of it. They've already filmed it. It was in Mexico at some of the same point breaks that Mason and Coco were surfing during East. And the three surfers are the aforementioned Mikey February, Mason Ho, and Dane Reynolds.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the little teeny teaser that they put at the end there was fascinating because they were talking about the Simon Jones board. They were, I'm looking forward to it.
So it's a free surf with those three guys in 100 minutes, and we'll see who surfs the best in a free surf. There was one addition that they made in this version of it that Mason referred to, which was they're going to surf their standard equipment and also do kind of a separate heat with alternative equipment. And Mason was saying like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to ride this Simon Jones if Matt Biolis like gives me the approval on it, essentially. So we'll see how that plays out, but yeah. I'd be fine just watching them ride their standard equipment too.
Hold on for just a sec.
Yep. Hey, while Scott's away, reminder of the sponsors who support this show, who, by the way, make phenomenal product that is a part of our daily lives. Athleticgreens.com/surf. It is a green whole foods powder made in New Zealand. It is a phenomenal product. The sourcing, the ethics, sustainability, all top notch. And athleticgreens.com/surf is our portal. It supports the show. And of course, you get a free year of vitamin D. And then, of course, surfnvs.com is NVS's Finn's website. And if you use our promo code, it's the word podcast, that lets them know that we sent you. But like we said at the top of the show, go and buy them at retail to support your local retailers. Follow them on Instagram, tag them in your posts, let them know, show them lots of love. NVS Fins, surfnvs.com.
Yeah, welcome back to the podcast. Couple things. You mentioned, what was it you mentioned that had me thinking of? Well, anyway, I've got my must-see moment. Or maybe it's too early for that.
It's not. My phone is blowing up. I got to get to work.
Oh, by the way, did you post the Boardroom podcast with Jim Kempton, the former editor of Surfer Magazine? Oh,
yep.
Okay, I didn't see that. Can you send me that?
Yeah, maybe I didn't send you the embed code.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's posted. So tell me about it.
Well, I mean, you should listen to it. It's really, I find Jim to be a great interview. So Jim Kempton, Boardroom podcast. But my must-see moment is Summer of Soul, this movie that Questlove put out regarding the Harlem Cultural Festival in 1969. And it's, David, I know you will enjoy it. It's kind of, well, it is interesting. And I learned a lot about that period in time, and the need for African Americans to sort of have their own moment during that summer that was known as the summer for Woodstock. There was actually this wonderful Harlem Cultural Festival that included, oh, I know what it was. You mentioned Selema.
Yeah.
Masekela. Hugh Masekela's in it.
Oh, okay,
pretty
nice.
Cool. So Hugh Masekela's in it. There's a bunch of people in it.
I'm not familiar with the Summer of Soul. Where can I watch this?
Hulu. It's free. I think it's a free watch if you subscribe to Hulu.
Perfect.
Summer of Soul. It's really good. It's got Sly and Family Stone, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the lead singer from the Fifth Dimension. Bunch of stuff. It's pretty cool. I mean, these people filmed this entire festival. They went to try to sell it. Nobody wanted to touch it. And it sat in the basement for 50 years and they just uncovered it and they edited it and made this great movie about that time, that period of time.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm in. I love a good documentary. And you know who else I've heard has albums in the archive that have never seen the light of day is Prince.
Oh.
Like he was just prolific and pumped out a ton of work.
You say that because you know who the very first Prince was? There was a Prince before Prince. And it was Sly from Sly and the Family Stone.
This guy Prince?
He was brought up in a musical family, a gospel loving family. He played every single instrument, much like Prince. Like he can play any instrument, and he was a producer. So he's kind of like the archetype for Prince.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So here we got to really, These guys, Prince, Questlove, these are great names. How come we haven't branded ourselves with a solitary name that is identifiable by everyone?
You have 3 names.
It's too many. It's like serial killers.
My wife was talking about this morning. She's like, why does he have 3 names? I go, I don't know. She goes, you need 3 names. I'm like, no.
What's your middle name?
I'm not even going to go there. Hey, guess what place Jack Robinson is on the WSL? Just a few events away from being eliminated from the WSL.
24.
28.
28. God.
Oh, by the way,
I mean, I preached about this crime before we got kicked off for the season. I'm like, man, we cannot have the greatest surfers in the world who finally earn their way on tour getting booted off. Yeah, sure, we want to run a COVID season, so you're going to go run at beach breaks, blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to hurt us in the long run, because once we're looking at 2022 and we actually have Cloudbreak or G-Land or some Sunset Beach back on tour, and it's going to be these guys who can only surf 3-foot waves, surfing those waves. It's going to be a nightmare.
Well, check this out. Jack got, bear with me here. He's in 26, not 28. His best result is, guess where? Pipeline.
Yeah.
And then I think Margaret River
is a pure crime.
And Jack Robinson might get kicked off the WCT because of this COVID year at these crappy waves.
I'm curious where he is on the QS. Can you easily access that?
I think so. Let's see if I go to events.
Well, the reality is he hasn't been surfing the QS events, right? So he's not going to be high up.
Challenger Series. Let's see if I can get men. Would be Challenger Series?
They haven't run the Challenger Series yet. So that's the thing. He could make a big push after the CT season on the Challenger Series and get back on tour. But the point is, this was ill-conceived. This never should have happened. Again, I'll use the same analogy. These Formula One drivers who have been training for 2 decades to surf the best waves in the world, to shave seconds off their mile times at Formula One races, have been put into go-karts and are now, their careers are in peril because they're not great at driving go-karts, which was a disastrous idea in the first place to even put them in go-karts.
So Jack Robinson on the QS is 25th in the region of Australia. That's not the world region, in the region of Australia. And, there's guys like Julian Wilson, Liam O'Brien, Jacob Wilcox, Ryan Callanan. There's guys that are on the CT now that are ahead of him on the QS. Julian Wilson.
So he can make a big push of the Challenger Series. So let's hope for that. But again, did you hear Sophia just bark? Mailman just showed up.
You're getting buzzed. You're getting barked.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just looked up. I did not publish the Jim Kempton episode, so I'll do that as soon as we get off air. I know I did all the work. I just probably didn't push the publish button. So I'll do that after we get off air, and then listeners can grab that. My must-see moment is actually a little bit different. It's the Resin and Soul series on Surfline. Have you been tracking this?
Yeah, I helped a little bit with it.
Oh, you did? Good. So Surfline's doing a series that's focusing on laminators. And they've got, I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but they've published 3 parts. Okay. So they've published 2 thus far. And obviously we always talk about surfboard shapers. There's a lot of people involved in board building. And sometimes the shaper does all of the other parts themselves, but there is a specialist that exists that is the laminator. There's also specialists that exist for sanding and for fin setting. And this series focuses on those laminators. So it's awesome. I think those people deserve to be highlighted, and Surfline did a great job with the series. What are you laughing at?
I just had this satirical thought where they do a series on the guys that sweep up. The best. These guys are super talented. The type of broom that they use, like.
So further,
that would be a great parody.
Let's analyze. Scott Bass is equating laminators to the sweepers. Is that what you're saying? It takes the same amount of talent.
No, what I'm saying is, wouldn't that be a great series on Surfline when they focused on shapers, they focus on laminators. Let's focus on the guys that sweep up, these craftsmen.
We actually need to praise. We need to get more sweepers is kind of what we need to do. We
Right.
need more kids that are interested in working in surfboard factories. And guess what? That's where you start. So let's glamorize the sweeper to hopefully encourage the backfilling of the industry, because it's not happening at a fast enough rate. And the icons are retiring with 50 years of experience and nobody to share that knowledge with.
Yes. Well,
so I was talking about Questlove being a great name, Prince being a best name or a great name. You know who's got the best name among all the laminators?
yeah, Alex,
Yeah.
Superwolf.
Superwolf.
Yeah,
that is a great name.
That is a good name. Sauce Bottle is a pretty cool name.
Sauce Bottle's really good, but he's not a laminator as far as
I know, but I mean, just as far as names go, Sauce Bottle's pretty good. I'm
really
a big
is.
fan.
By the way, you can tell your wife, yes, my middle
She's
name
here right now.
My middle name is what she's referring to. I didn't start going by my middle name. I feel like our listeners are the ones who have started you. I only went by David Scales for 30 years of my life.
He's saying that his middle name isn't he's not taking credit for people using his middle name. He prefers David Scales.
Oh, so we'd have to be Scotty Bob.
She was going to name me something like Scotty Bob Bass or something.
Well, what is your middle name? We could just use that.
Oh, my middle name's William, but I'm not big on the whole middle name thing.
It's a lot.
That's your
lot.
boss.
Scott William Bass is a lot. Scott Billy Boy Bass.
We got to bring it down.
The other problem is serial killers are always branded with 3 names. And so that's unfortunate for me.
That is. David Lee Scales does sound like a serial killer.
A little bit.
You could be in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
A little bit.
Yeah.
All right, Scott Billy Bass.
You guys, I didn't realize that you and Chaz were on this Greg Knoll as a feature Hollywood film thing. Was that something you guys did on your show?
Yeah.
Because I picked up on somebody goes, hey, Jack Black would be a great Greg Knoll.
He would be. He's the best Greg Knoll.
Maybe, but then it got me thinking, who would be the best person to play Kelly Slater? Who would be the best person to play Duke Kahanamoku? Who would be the best person to play Laird Hamilton?
Add it to our next show.
Well, you guys need to figure this out.
Let's add it to our next show.
Denzel Washington should play Duke.
That'd be epic. That's a great call, actually.
Yeah.
Why are you anti
Vin Diesel plays Kelly Slater. No, that wouldn't work.
I could see.
I'm not anti Jack Black, but I just don't see Jack Black. I mean, he's so comedic.
I think that he has the talent to go straight, though.
Yeah.
You know, like he's got the
big
chops.
Enough. He's not big enough.
He's pretty big, but yeah, he's maybe not tall enough. But who would be a better? I mean,
who would have been a great Greg Knoll? Sadly, he's passed. Is the guy that was in The Sopranos. The lead actor in The Sopranos would have been
James Gandolfini.
Yeah, Gandolfini would have been a good Greg Knoll. He's big enough, super talented. Gandolfini, I could have seen.
I have a hard time making that leap from mob boss, though. Like he's so ingrained in my mind.
Actor. That's what makes a great actor. Then the other guy I was thinking of, but he's too old, is the guy that was in Roseanne, the guy that that was in
John Goodman.
Yeah, John Goodman. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not against these. I could see a young Clint Eastwood, but he'd have to bulk up. He'd have to beef out. But look at Christian Bale. Christian Bale as Dick Cheney got super beefed out for that role. Yeah, I mean, it was unidentifiable. Like that version of Christian Bale could play Greg Knoll.
Yeah. So then that brings in who's the two left.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis could play any of these guys. Like he could just transform.
Daniel's unbelievable. Like when I watched him in There Will Be Blood playing the oil baron, and then going up on stage to accept his Oscar, and he's so effeminate. He's just like shy and meek. He's
he's almost like that's an act too. Like you feel like that's an act as well,
Totally. But I couldn't reconcile who I'm watching on stage right now winning this award with this character, or Bill the Butcher was another great example.
Gangs of New York. Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't the same human being. This is like these are two different people. It has to be two different people. The guy's
Gangs of New York is a
unbelievable.
great film, and it made, and because I was throwing out Leonardo DiCaprio on some of these, I'm like, which guy would Leo play? He might be able to play Laird Hamilton.
Not a chance.
Who do you need? You need like kind of like
Hugh Jackman.
maybe, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Anyway,
Jackman
this
could
is
do
this is a discussion for the grit, not for spit. Although, why not? Anyway,
Why not?
I gotta go. I got a meeting here.
All right. Scott,
until
good,
next
good,
time.
Good show.
Until next time, David. Adios and aloha.
My kook of the week is Zuck.
Good,
Obviously.
good one. Little postscript.
Obviously. Yeah.
Postscript.
Yeah.
And enjoy the song by Elton John. Adios
Yeah.
and aloha.